All right. Get going. And I see Kishore's joined us. Welcome, Kishore. And we have a new member too, another new member. Sandy, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi.
I just met her on Saturday evening, I would say. All right. So we're going to do a little bit of meditation. I invite everyone to sort of close your eyes and take a deep breath. Feel yourself relaxed on your chair and feel the support of Mother Earth beneath you. I want you to take your attention to your breath and just experience the air going through your nostrils and let your exhale be as long as possible. There's a lot that we experience in life, and it can be overwhelming at times. And just taking a pause to be aware of our breath, which is the very beginning of the pranayama process of breath awareness and control, can really allow us to sink into our real selves, undriven, if you will, by the expectations of the world around us. And instead of living a life that's outside in, to live a life that's inside out, meaning we are motivated from the very core of our beings. Feel your feet, relax your feet, relax your thighs, relax your torso, in your chest. I want you to lift your shoulders and take them in a circular fashion. Try to take some of that tension out of the upper back and shoulder area. And now do that with your neck. Rotate that all around. And we're going to recite a very, very simple mantra. The mantra is called the Hare Krishna mantra. And we'll do it 3 times. This mantra is considered to be the most powerful of Vedic mantras, especially in the age of quarrel and hypocrisy we might find ourselves in. So you can follow along with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Take your attention back to your breath and palm folded by your chest and a feeling of gratitude to give yourself a little bit of meditation time, grounding time. You can rub your hands, generate some heat, and place them over your eyes. You can come back to the room with us. All right. See, couples join us. Welcome, couple. So, I promised that we would begin with the Bhagavad Gita now, which is this book, my version. So, the Bhagavad Gita is actually written 5,000 years ago. I kind of joke my book actually looks like it's 5,000 years old. It's like all binding is all torn up and stuff like that. Um, if you have the book, great, you can follow along with the book. If you don't have the book, there's a in the chat, I'm going to put the link where you can find it. So I'll take you to the Bhagavad Gita in electronic form. So the Bhagavad Gita, just as a introduction, is composed of 18 chapters. And the 18 chapters can be split up in general terms as first six, then the next six, and the last six. And the Bhagavad Gita is considered the original book of all yoga systems. So there are multiple yoga systems that are described in the Bhagavad Gita, but the ones that are primary, if you will, are the first six chapters discuss what's called karma yoga, or the yoga of detached work. Then the next six chapters, which is the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, contain the jewel-like process, most confidential process. In fact, some of those chapters are known as the most confidential knowledge. And that is the section of Bhakti Yoga, or the yoga of devotion, the yoga of the heart. And then the last six chapters largely constitute the yoga of knowledge, or jnana yoga. So where we will begin, at least for today, we'll cover the preface and we'll do a little bit of the setting the scene to understand, okay, what is going on? Where are we starting off in the Bhagavad Gita? What's the environment? What's the context? Because as with any kind of sacred or great classic literature, it's important to know the context. So let's cover the setting the scene. We'll read the preface, and then I'll give a quick overview of chapter one, and we start reading chapter two. So we'll see how far we get, given the time we have. All right. So I see Sujata's also joined us. Welcome, Sujata. So how many of you have not read the beginning parts of the Bhagavad Gita? I know some of you joined along the way where we were in chapters 13, 14, 15. How many of you have not read the beginning parts of the Bhagavad Gita? Show of hands. Sujata, yeah. Sandy, Kenzie, maybe. Okay. All right. I assure you, every time you read it, I've probably read this beginning part of the Bhagavad Gita 25 times. And each time I read it, it's more, it reveals more. It has some nourishing messages I never saw before. So even if it's the first time or if it's the 100th time, I assure you'll find something meaningful out of it. Okay, let's go to setting the scene. And for those of you who are new, the way we run this is that I'll pick on someone to start reading. We read a few paragraphs, and then that person will then pick the next person. But before we do that, we kind of discuss about, what are some reflections, what are some takeaways, maybe some questions, and so forth. Okay. So we'll start. Vrinda, would you like to kick us off with setting the scene?
You can go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay. Although widely published and read by itself, Bhagavad Gita originally appears as an episode in the Mahabharata, the epic Sanskrit history of the ancient world. The Mahabharata tells of events leading up to the present age of Kali. It was at the beginning of this age, some 50 centuries ago, that Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to his friend and devotee Arjuna. Their discourse, one of the greatest philosophical and religious dialogues known to man, took place just before the onset of war, a great fratricidal conflict between the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and the opposing side, their cousins, the Pandavas, or sons of Pandu. How many paragraphs did you want me to read?
Um, I don't know, maybe a page or so, like four or
Okay.
five. Yeah.
Okay. Dhritarashtra and Pandu were brothers, born in the Kuru dynasty, descending from King Bharata, a former ruler of the earth, from whom the name Mahabharata derives. Because Dhritarashtra, the elder brother, was born blind, the throne that otherwise would have been his was passed down to the younger brother, Pandu. When Pandu died at an early age, his 5 children, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva, came under the care of Dhritarashtra, who in effect became, for the time being, the king. Thus the sons of Dhritarashtra and those of Pandu grew up in the same royal household. Both were trained in the military arts by the expert Drona and counseled by the revered grandfather of the clan, Bhishma. Yet the sons of Dhritarashtra, especially the eldest, Duryodhana, hated and envied the Pandavas, and the blind and weak-minded Dhritarashtra wanted his own sons, not those of Pandu, to inherit the kingdom. Thus Duryodhana, with Dhritarashtra's consent, plotted to kill the young sons of Pandu, and it was only by the careful protection of their uncle Vidura and their cousin, Lord Krishna, that the Pandavas escaped the many attempts against their lives.
Thank you. So let's keep going. You want to pick the next person?
Yeah. Kusum Mataji, do you want to go ahead?
Thanks. Yes. Thus Duryodhan, with Dhritarashtra's consent, plotted to kill the young sons of Pandu, and it was only by the careful protection of their uncle Vidura and their cousin Lord Krishna that the Pandavas escaped the many attempts against their lives. Now, Lord Krishna was not an ordinary man, but the supreme Godhead himself, who had descended to earth and was playing the role of a prince in a contemporary dynasty. In this role, he was also the nephew of Pandu's wife Kunti, or Pritha, the mother of the Pandavas. So, both as a relative and as the eternal upholder of religion, Krishna favored the righteous sons of Pandu and protected them. Ultimately, however, the clever Duryodhan challenged the Pandavas to a gambling match. In the course of that fateful tournament, Duryodhan and his brothers took possession of Draupadi, the chaste and devoted wife of the Pandavas, and insultingly tried to strip her naked before the entire assembly of princes and kings. Krishna's divine intervention saved her, but the gambling, which was rigged, cheated the Pandavas of their kingdom and forced them into 13 years of exile. Upon returning from exile, the Pandavas rightfully requested their kingdom from Duryodhan, who bluntly refused to yield it. Duty bound as princes to serve in public administration, the 5 Pandavas reduced their requests to a mere 5 villages. But Duryodhan arrogantly replied that he would not spare them enough land into which to drive a pin.
Mm.
Throughout all this, the Pandavas had been consistently tolerant and forbearing, but now war seemed inevitable.
Thank you. You want to pick the next person?
Uh, would Sandy like to read?
Sandy, are you in a position you can read?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get myself off of mute. Okay.
Okay.
So we're in the third page.
Yeah, it says, nonetheless, as the princess of the world divided, some sided from the with the sons. You find it?
Oh, wait a minute. Nonetheless, hold on a second.
This is setting the scene section.
Yeah, I know. But I don't see where it says nonetheless. Oh, yeah, there we go. Nonetheless, as the princes of the world divided, some siding with the sons of Dirshtarsha, others with the Pandavas. Krishna himself took the role of messenger for the sons of Pandu and went to the court of Drishtra to plead for peace. When his plea was refused, war was now certain. The Pandavas, men of the highest moral stature, recognized Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead, whereas the impious sons of Drashtra did not. Yet Krishna offered to enter the war according to the desire of the antagonists. As God, he would not personally fight, but whoever so desired uh, might avail himself of Krishna army, and the other side could have Krishna himself as an advisor and helper. Duryodhana, the political genius, snatched at Krishna's armed forces, while the Pandavas were equally eager to have Krishna himself. In this way, Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna, taking it upon himself to drive the fabled bowman's chariot. This brings us to the point at which Bhagavad Gita begins with the two armies arrayed, ready for combat, and Darshana anxiously inquiring of his secretary Sanjaya. What did they do? The scene is set with only the need for a brief note regarding this translation and commentary.
Okay. You want to pick the next person, Sandy?
Oh,
Or
sure.
yeah.
Where do I see the list of people?
It's
Do I
in
go to
the
do I go to chat?
participants section.
I don't think I have that on my phone.
Okay, no
Well,
problem. I'll do it for you. I'll pick someone for you.
okay.
Yeah. Let's go. Nilesh, would you like to finish up?
Sure.
Thanks.
Mhm. The general pattern translators have followed the rendering of Bhagavad Gita into English has been to brush aside the person Krishna to make room for their own concepts and philosophies. The history of the Mahabharata is taken as quaint mythology, and Krishna becomes a poetic device for presenting the ideas of some anonymous genius, or at best, he becomes a minor historical personage. But the person Krishna is both the goal and the substance of the Bhagavad Gita as far as the Gita speaks of itself. This translation then and the commentary that accompanies it purpose to direct to the reader to Krishna rather than away from him. The Bhagavad Gita thus becomes wholly consistent and comprehensible. Since Krishna is the speaker of the Gita and it is ultimate goal as well as the Bhagavad Gita as it is, presents the great scripture in its truest terms.
Thank you. All right, so we'll pause there and see if any comments or questions or reflections from this setting the scene. This is kind of giving the very quick gloss of 100,000 verse text called the Mahabharata, getting up to this intense time when the battle is going to start between two warring factions. They're all in the same family, believe it or not. And right when, just before the family starts to fight, there's a deep philosophical treatise that's being presented, which partly tells us that sometimes there's an excuse that I don't have time to think about these deeper questions of life. when in reality, these people were about to start a war and they could easily make that excuse. I don't have the time. I've got to fight. Look at this. But they actually take out time to talk about, okay, why am I here? What am I meant to do? Right. So I find that really intriguing about the Bhagavad Gita. It's just a scene in which a very transcendental text takes place, is in the middle of or about to begin a battle scene. Any other reflections or comments or questions?
I just had a quick question about one of the points here. Um, it mentioned that yet Krishna offered to enter the war according to the desire of the antagonists.
Antagonists, yeah.
Antagonists. What does that mean? I mean, like, who desired that? Do you remember? Like,
The antagonists are the people on the other side, which is Duryodhana and his party, quote unquote, the evil group.
oh, okay.
And so Krishna agreed to their call.
Mhm.
Hey, you also participate and give us your army. So Krishna's army went to the antagonists and Krishna himself. So they got the entire army, but only the Pandavas only got Krishna and said, that's what we want. We don't need the army. We just need Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kenzie, you about to make a comment?
That was actually my question. So it sounded like Krishna offered like some part of himself to both sides of the war almost.
Yes. This is often an interesting contemplation. Prabhupada would say, when you have a war, Prabhupada, by the way, I'll refer to him often. Prabhupada is the author of the commentary of this Bhagavad Gita, and he's the spiritual teacher of the Bhakti Yoga movement that started back in 1965 in New York. So he made the comment that when you have a war and each side is praying to God, please make me win or make us win, whose side he's going to take. Last night, my kid loves soccer, right? He's totally into soccer right
I
now.
was
So
thinking the same thing.
we're watching the World Cup, and I
Mm,
was watching the World Cup, and who was playing? Morocco versus Netherlands,
Morocco.
right? And
Yeah.
I watched just before the penalties, Morocco got together, the whole group, and they
And they
all started
prayed.
to pray. It was very interesting to watch that. And immediately I turned to my son and like, and so if both of them pray, who's God going to listen to, right? In one sense, and we'll see this as the Bhagavad Gita progresses, is that God doesn't necessarily get involved with these kind of decisions because that's simply played out by karma. Where God personally gets involved is where there's devotion and love.
But isn't that praying to God, the devotion and love being exhibited when
Could
both
be.
sides are doing that?
It could be. It could also be, I worship the government so that they give me what I want. It could be very self-centered, but it could also be out of devotion, sure. And that degree to which it's love versus self-centeredness, I'm just going to the daddy that can give me the cheese,
Hmm.
is depends on my own condition of heart. Lene, you had a comment you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here reflecting, and I guess it sometimes makes me feel a little better to think about the uh, Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra. They're they have Krishna as part of their family, but they're so covered by illusion and Maya that they don't recognize him
Mm,
as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And
Mm.
so I guess to some extent, I take comfort that I'm attempting to know God, but also recognize that if he were standing in front of me, I'm probably so covered in illusion that I wouldn't know either.
Mm. That's deep. Yeah. Okay. Does everyone is everyone on board with the scene and understanding what the scene looks like before we begin with the content? Yeah. All right, let's move on to the preface. Nilesh, you want to pick the next person to start the preface?
Sure. Sonia, you want to read?
Sure. Preface. Originally, I wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, in the form in which it is presented now. When this book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanations for most of the original verses of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In all of my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Upanishad, etc., the system is that I give the original verse, its English transliteration, word for word Sanskrit English equivalents, translations, and purports. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self-evident. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript. But later on, when the demand for Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. Should I continue or?
Yes. One more paragraph.
Our Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural, and transcendental due to its being based as Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially amongst the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life members of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that I have started the Krishna consciousness movement in America. But actually, the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself. Since it was started a very long time ago, but is coming down to human society by disciplic succession. If I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but it is due to my eternal spiritual master, His divine grace, Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivrajacharya 108 Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswata Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada.
Okay, was that a long name?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty long name. It's like a lot of honorific titles that go along with
Yeah.
it, but that's his offering a lot of honor and respect to his own teacher, his guru.
His obeisances to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to pick the next person, Sonia? We'll complete the
Sure.
preface and then discuss it. Yeah.
Ashish, you want to read?
Sure.
Ashish, if you can cover a couple of paragraphs, that'll be
Yeah.
good. Thanks.
If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any adulterations. Before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. But our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher, or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna, despite all their knowledge. When Krishna says, Man mana bhava madbhakta madhyaji man namaskara, etc. We,
By the way,
unlike
this the reason he is using this phrase, this is in Sanskrit, man mana bhava mad bhakto. This phrase is one of two phrases that's repeated twice in the Bhagavad Gita. There's no other phrases that are repeated twice. This is one of them. And it just indicating the depth and importance of this phrase. But basically, it means Manmana, always think of me. Mad Bhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. And then Mam Namaskuru is offer obeisances to me. So it's repeated twice. And that's why it's important. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
We, unlike the so-called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara, disciplic succession. Generally, the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis, without perfect knowledge of Krishna, try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavada Bhashya. And Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back to home, back to Godhead. Our only purpose is to present Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of Brahma, or every 8,600,000 years. This purpose is stated in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he has directly understood, as he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society and fulfilling the mission of life.
Thank you. Okay, and the last couple of paragraphs, you want to pick someone, please?
I'll let you pick. Go ahead.
All right. Linnea, would you like to read, please?
Sure. The Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. How is this so explained fully in the Bhagavad Gita? Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demonic propensities and mislead people regarding right understanding of the simple principles of life. Everyone should know how God, or Krishna, is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that a living entity is eternally a servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion in different varieties of the three modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculator has to undergo this process. This knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it for his own interest. People in general, especially in this age of Kali, are enamored by external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts, every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature. The living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and he demands it. One has to understand the central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the world, the whole world, the central point. Krishna consciousness movement is, oh, geez. And because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if everyone may become a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success.
Do you say everyone becomes a pure devotee? In my book, it says, and if even one man becomes a pure devotee.
Oh, sorry. Yes. There was yelling upstairs, and so then I got distracted. If even one man becomes a pure devotee, you're
Or
correct.
woman. Yes. Thank you. All right. So comments, reflections, thoughts, complaints?
I think this first preference is to get the people who want to start this journey to have faith in the writings that we're about to study and believe that, having this belief, then we're going to benefit ourselves and nobody else, to surrender to this knowledge.
Yeah, certainly encouraging that. Although faith is something that's so intrinsic to the soul that it's not something you can impose on yourself or others can necessarily impose on you. You can say, have faith. Okay, I got it. I have faith. It doesn't work that way. Faith comes from practical realization, right? There's a formula to gain faith that I like. It's knowledge. You gain some knowledge, you hear some knowledge, plus application when you apply that knowledge equals realization. You go, whoa, that's true. And then faith, plus faith. And then that faith feeds back to knowledge or getting more knowledge from the source that you got that knowledge from. And then you apply some more, you see it works, you get some realization, then your faith increases. And so it's like a math equation, if you will. Knowledge plus application equals to realization plus faith.
Prabhu, the text refers to Mayavad, Mayavadi speculator, Mayavadi point of view. Is it just material or what's
Mayavad?
Yeah.
In very simple terms, Mayavad is a purposeful negation of God as a person. There's a hesitancy, there's a inherent disdain or dislike of being subordinate to a supreme person or supreme being. And so the Mayavad picture of the world is that you and I are all God. We're all God, ultimately. And that we just have to realize it. We are now encaged in a material body. The soul is encaged in a material body. And if you're self-realized, when you shed the body, then that soul merges into the smoothie, the Brahman smoothie, or the spiritual cloud, or the spiritual energy. And when that merging happens, then you lose your individual identity and you're part of this impersonal spiritual energy. Just like you take a pot of water, you break the pot and the water falls into the river, then the water merges into the river. So that's the world view of the Mayavadi. And for them, there is no individuality in the spiritual realm. There's no personality, there's no relationships, there's no love. It's all about existence, eternal existence. So that's Mayavadi philosophy. And if they have a deity that they propitiate or worship, that deity is simply meant as a stepping stone to ultimately understand what I just explained. It's kind of like you use the deity to gain spiritual progress, then you throw the deity away, kind of thing. So that's the Mayavadi view. Said another way, for them, the personality Krishna or any personality of Godhead is sourced from this Brahman energy or spiritual energy. According to Bhagavad Gita and our understanding, it's flipped. The Brahman or the spiritual energy that's all pervasive and that connects everyone together, the sense of oneness, is actually sourced from the person God. So it's flipped. And this is fundamentally the tussle between schools of thought in Vedic life since thousands and thousands of years. On one camp, you have the called Advaita school, meaning there's no difference between us and God. And then on the other camp, you have the Dvaita school that says, yes, there is a difference between us and God. And then the disciplic succession or the school that we're part of says it's in between, in the sense that it's inconceivably oneness and difference between us and God. And the example that's given is like where sunshine to the sun. You can't separate the sunshine from the sun, but sunshine can enter a room. If the sun were to enter a room, it would be a different case. Different scenario. You'd burn up. So like that. We're tiny spiritual sparks. We have a little bit of spiritual light, but then God is this huge sun of spiritual energy. Like that.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. Does that make sense? It's a little,
It's a little complex.
it
Yes.
is a little complicated.
Yeah. Yes, sleep on it.
If I can ask, the line that goes back to where it says, such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavedya Bhashya, and Lord Caitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Caitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavedi point of view will commit a great blunder. So again, if you could just clarify, what is that Mayavedi point of view, which is a blunder? Because to me, it seems like the statement says that in the Mayavedic point of view, they are still studying the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, absolutely.
But they're creating a blunder because the way they're studying it or their interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, it's the interpretation. For example, it's not taking the direct meaning as presented in the Bhagavad Gita. It's very common actually. In fact, my introduction to all of this at the age of 15 years old was a Mayavadi interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita. And it was one point in my life where I took this Bhagavad Gita that we're reading together and the other one that I was used to since I was 15 years old and started to do a verse by verse comparison and a philosophical scrutiny between the two commentaries. And then at some point I went, shut that book, gave it as a gift, and like, okay, this doesn't make sense from and so
So
what is
what is
that?
that interpretation?
Yeah, what is that? I shared it, but I'll sort of say it a different way. What in so Krishna says specifically that Sarva Dharma at the end is like a concluding statement. It's like here's what you need to get out of this. Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. That everything that I've explained to you, Arjuna, you can forget all about it, and all you need to know is to surrender unto me, and I'll take care of you. I got your back. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yeshami mashi. Don't feel any anxiety. I got your back. And it's pretty clear. If you look at the Sanskrit, if you look at what Krishna is saying, it's very like, you can't misinterpret it. But the Mayavad interpretation is, while Krishna is saying surrender unto me, it doesn't mean we have to surrender unto Krishna. It means you have to surrender to the unborn within Krishna, which is within yourself. And then they go off into the explanation. So it's a predisposition that does not like a supreme person to whom I'm accountable to. It's a verse to that.
So you're basically surrendering to yourself and establishing your own moral standards to
Yes.
hold yourself accountable to,
Yes.
not necessarily to the ones that Krishna presents.
Yes. You can do that. Yes. With Maya, that's the danger.
Yes, that would be a dangerous
Yeah.
proposition. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
I just had a quick question here. So, in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's name, why is it that 108 is mentioned?
That's a good question. Who was reading it? Was it Kenzie who was reading it, or?
No, I
No,
was reading it.
Yeah.
Is it because we chant Hare Krishna, we have to, the mala is 108? Is that why it is?
Yeah, it's part of the reason. So
Okay.
108, and I'll share with you some interesting facts about 108. 108 is considered to be an auspicious number. 108 in Sanskrit is known as Ashtottara Shata. And so you'll see that, you'll hear, if you ever come to a Bhakti Yoga temple, you'll hear Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivijakacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Long name, right? The Ashtottara Shata is the 108. And the reason 108 is considered auspicious is because there are 108 books of knowledge called the Upanishads. That's number one. Number two, there are 108 principal gopis or female friends of Krishna. And so that's the reason 108. But 108 is actually encoded into the creation as well. The distance between the sun and the moon is 108 times the diameter of the earth. Take the diameter of the earth, multiply it 108 times. That's the distance between the sun and moon. I'm sorry, between the earth and the moon. And then the distance between the earth and the sun is 108 times the diameter of the sun. And so the question then is, why does the moon and the sun look exactly like the same size in the sky when they're vastly different? Is because of the ratio between the diameter and the distance is the same, 108. So those are some reasons. There's a whole article, why 108, which I can send you a couple on the side. Just send me a note. If I forget.
Yes. And that's the reason we have 108 beads.
And that's the reason we also have 108 beads in the chanting beads, yes.
Yeah, I've heard like when devotees say Ashtottara Shata, but I never like focused on it ever.
You never understood what it was.
No.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
About that thing, you know what I'm saying? With the like that Ashtora Stata means 108. So so
You didn't
funny.
know that either,
I
Keshava?
didn't know. Yeah. I don't even know like half of these prayers that when we say like when we bow down. I just say Jai 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 like a parrot. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's a good thing. Yeah.
See, I told you, even if you read this 100 times, you'll still find something new you never know before.
Maybe we'll have to read 108 times then.
There you go. All right, so let's break out into groups to share some takeaways or reflections from today's discussion. So I'm going to start the breakout rooms if you want to join your rooms, and then we'll come back in about 7 minutes.
Okay, we're back to the group, right?
Yes.
Was it 7 minutes?
It was a quick 7 minutes.
Oh my.
It always is.
That was too quick, right? I apologize. Feels like you're a little fish swimming nicely in ocean, and then all of a sudden you get ripped out of your reality, back in the main room. Okay. So, any final comments, thoughts that you'd like to share? Something you heard someone else say in the group that was particularly meaningful?
I just enjoy getting to know a new member, so that was nice.
I would second that.
Yeah, I suppose I should say a new old member.
Yeah, she's a veteran. She's come back to the army to fight against Maya.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Couple, what's your question?
I had one legit, but I was thinking I'll just ask next time.
Go ahead.
No, I was just like contemplating on this point, where it was mentioned that Krishna appears once in 8,600,000,000 years.
Is that what it said?
Yeah, that's what it said.
Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of
Oh,
Brahma.
yeah. In the life of Brahma, yeah. In the day of Brahma, I'm sorry. Yeah, right.
So this Krishna is like the absolute, like the topmost, like Krishna original personality comes once, and then who comes in every yuga cycle then?
So this is Krishna Consciousness 301. So yes, Krishna comes every 8,400,000,000 or 8,600,000,000 years, which is 1,000 yuga cycles, and each yuga cycle is 8.4 million years. And 4.32 million years, I'm sorry, multiplied by 2 because there's a day and night of Lord Brahma. So who comes? There's a difference between Swayam Bhagavan Krishna and another form of Krishna known as Vasudev Krishna. And the Vasudev Krishna form comes every yuga cycle. But the Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, the one who plays around as a young child in Vrindavan, comes once in a day of Brahma. So again, this is Krishna Consciousness 301. We'll keep that for another time.
Oh, but yeah, it definitely gave the context. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. And in this particular yuga cycle, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna came.
Yes. And then in that incarnation, immediately Lord Chaitanya comes as well in that same yuga cycle. Yeah, Krishna, he's God. He can come whenever he wants. He doesn't have like a set thing. For us, we have to go to work every day at 8 o'clock or whatever our work time is. Krishna doesn't have to do that. If he likes, he comes. He generally likes to come on a regulated way. Krishna's regulated, unlike us. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? No, we can end a little earlier.
Can I ask a question that's not necessarily related to what we read, but has been swirling around in my head?
Sure.
So we talk a lot about perfection and the actions of various acharyas and swamis taking place on the transcendental plane. My question about that is, when those actions are being taken by those individuals, do they recognize that those actions are transcendental at the time they're doing them? Or is it one of those situations where because they've surrendered their life and their actions to Krishna, even if they don't necessarily know what they're doing or the outcome, it becomes transcendental? So my question is more along the lines of how do you
Are they
know?
conscious? Are
Are
they
they
conscious of
conscious? Yes.
Krishna's, or are they on some kind of autopilot?
Yeah,
Is that the question?
I guess.
Let me share with you something from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like been a guiding light for me for many, many years. So the scene is, so just like in the Bhagavad Gita, is a question and answers kind of format. You have God speaking, Krishna speaking to Arjuna, Arjuna asking a bunch of questions. It isn't a one-way street monologue, it's a dialogue. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 verses, as opposed to just 700, which is in the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam takes the Bhagavad Gita messages and expands on them in story form. And it becomes really rich in terms of lessons of life and things like that. It's beautiful. Therefore, it's called Srimad Bhagavatam, or beautiful Bhagavatam. And the person who's asking questions, his name is Maharaj Parikshit, or Parikshit, King Parikshit. And he's asking his questions to a great sage known as Shukadev Goswami, who's a 16-year-old naked boy, oh, young man. And all the great sages of the time, when Shukadev Goswami had to enter the assembly, they all stood up in like awe at this personality who didn't need to even clothe himself because of how transcendental his consciousness was. His mind was really fully absorbed in the personality of Godhead and absolute truth. He could walk around naked and it didn't matter to him or to others even. So when he walked into assembly, everyone stood up and they offered their words of appreciation, and then the dialogue begins. And in that dialogue, Maharaj Parikshit begins to ask questions. And he asks a series of questions, especially around creation, trying to understand what is it that makes the creation the way it is? And how's God involved in all of it? I mean, it's a very good basic question. And what we see in the caliber of personality that Shukadeva Goswami is, the speaker, his caliber is that he doesn't immediately respond. When you're asked a question, think about it. How do you may put some thought into it, but is there thought of, okay, let me be an instrument of some higher will in my speaking? What happens in Shukadeva Goswami's case? Uh, is he hears all these questions. Can you see my screen?
It's
Yes.
coming, yes.
Yeah. So he hears all these questions, and what happens within him is Rishikesham Anusmritya Prativaktum Prachakrame. So what happens is that he systematically remembered the master of the senses, Rishikesha. The word Rishikesha is used meaning the master of the senses. Our sense of speech is also a sense, and it's also controlled by God, or can be controlled by God. And the whole idea of bhakti yoga is to have all of our senses, our speech, our perambulatory senses, our arms, our legs, uh, everything that we have in terms of senses, to allow it to play out the will of divinity. So when we look at the Bhagavad Gita's image and you see how Krishna is riding the chariot of Arjuna, it's very symbolic that we would like in our lives that may God, may Krishna guide my life and let Krishna's will manifest through my senses. So here we see that he immediately takes his consciousness to Krishna, the master of the senses, and then he began to reply properly. In the purport, Prabhupada makes a statement that's really, really nice. He said that no one is free to act freely and independently, and as such, one should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or eat or speak, and by the blessings of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles of the four defects typical of the conditioned soul. So, depending on the caliber of the saint that you're thinking about, if they're the Shukadeva Swami's caliber, even when they're asked a question, their thoughts immediately go to Krishna, may I be of service to you and do this properly. So there's a mix of humility while they may take a position of authority. And if they don't have that caliber, then just like respond. Let me look at my knowledge bank to respond. So that's an example. But then it could happen with eating, it could happen with sleeping, whatever, brushing your teeth, working, talking to a colleague, meeting the person in the grocery store, etc.
That helps. Thank you.
All right, we're at 9:15. Thank you all very much. And we'll continue next week with chapter 1 of chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. It was lovely to spend the evening with you. Hopefully you got something out of it and create a little bit of community. Take care, everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank
everyone.
you.